What are the stages of a true Kundalini awakening? From the perspective that we are doing this consciously and purposefully, how do we go about a Kundalini awakening in the safest possible way? Step one is to learn the energies, is to learn the flow of prana or chi, to learn the flow of the sacred sexual energies, also known as jing or essence. Then we can start to, once we control these, we can then bring in, through activation, through a energy transmission, what we can call Shaktipat, a touch of Shakti. To combine these, to bring in the energy to rise Shakti energy. Going through these processes at the same time, we need to go through the stages of shadow work, feeding our demons, dearmoring. Dearmoring means breaking down the blocks, the emotional traumas stored within our body. There are various techniques we can do to go about this. I go through these in my trainings. Once we can control our pranic flow, once we can control the essence, the flow of essence, once we have cleared and prepared our physical bodies, we can open up the energetic bodies. Whilst we are clearing the shadows, whilst we are accepting the shadows, because the shadows are not just, as many people say, the negative aspects of our personalities. They are the shadows. This means it's also just the parts of ourselves we do not accept. And some of those things can be very positive things. But because of our culture, because of whatever it is we live in, our personal education, beliefs given to us, we push them down. In the Western world, we can talk about the whole idea of sexuality and the way it is grossly suppressed. By activating our tantric energies, our jing, our essence, we can embrace these feelings within us, these energetic feelings within us. We're not talking about sexual fantasies and things like that. We're talking about the flow of that energy within our body. And we embrace these things and we combine these psychological aspects, our energetical aspects. We bring ourselves to this state. These are the stages we must go through at the beginning, preparing ourselves to then, through transmission, receive Shaktipat, awaken Shakti, the energy, to enable us to connect to Shiva consciousness, bring that down, complete the process, make it permanent, be able to flow, connect to, we could call it the Tao, to receive intuitions. Now, many people will talk about the signs and the symptoms and the talking in tongues and things like that. All of those things come from the first stages. Then we have, once we are starting to connect the energies higher, we get to the intuitions, we get to the precognitions, we get to the telepathic communications. Those all come as we are connecting or once we have connected. I hear many people listing, these are the signs of Kundalini awakening. If you have these, it means you're having a Kundalini awakening. Maybe, because a lot of those are also signs of other things. Dark night of the soul, fatigue, not being able to sleep, waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning. There are also signs of an overstressed adrenal gland, the waking up. Life crisis, the dark night of the soul. The extreme fatigue, same thing expressed in a different way. That is just, yeah. But a life crisis doesn't mean to say you're having a Kundalini awakening. The adrenal fatigue and waking up at 3 o'clock doesn't mean you're having a Kundalini awakening. Seeing numbers doesn't mean to say you're having a Kundalini awakening. If you've heard about these numbers, it's much like if I want to buy a car, I'm going to buy a whatever make and color it is of car I'm going to buy, and then suddenly you see them everywhere. Suddenly you see the signs everywhere. Oh, I look at the clock and I'm seeing these numbers. Well, you can do that and say, well, I'm going to see other numbers. You can program it into your mind. Those, okay, they could be certain fluctuations that your mind is trying to tell you something else needs to go on in your life instead of just work, doom scrolling, wasting your time with entertainment, looking for the next thrill. It's trying to tell you to look for something else. They're not signs of an awakening. It is your subconscious trying to say, come on, there's more to life. When are you going to wake up? Come on. That's all that is. The stages, I've said them. If you're interested in going about doing this in a way that is designed to help you do this, I'm not saying this is safe. There are always risks involved when doing this, but it is way safer than allowing it to happen spontaneously or doing sort of preparation work, but none of the actual work, which happens in so many societies. Or there is in other forms that they do a lot of preparation work, but at the same time, well, it's the same thing, but they don't actually teach you how to control these energies when they flow. It's amazing how much you can find out. I found out the other day, I'm not going to name names or anything like that, but I found apparently there is a school teaching about energy, and they say, so they teach facilitators, and they say, well, when you feel energy flowing, that means there's an energy block. And when you feel nothing, it means there's nothing. Seriously, there's a school teaching this. When you feel energy flowing, that doesn't mean to say there's energy flowing. That means to say there's a block. And when you feel nothing, that's nothing at all. Common sense would tell you when you feel energy flowing, it's because there's energy flowing. And when you feel nothing or a density, that's where the blockage is. So of course, if people are learning this, facilitators, and they're saying, oh, where I'm feeling energy, that's where I've really got to pull the energy and make the energy flow and push the energy, that is going to force bodies to move. Yeah, okay, the result is you have these wonderful activation videos where lots of people are moving, but it's a high risk strategy to cause people to go into dark nights of the soul and things like that, because where the energy is flowing, they're really pushing the energy and they're not dealing with the blocks. And well, you can see how that works out. These things are going on. It's unfortunate, but be careful who you learn from. Be careful who you choose to study with. Other schools, very traditional schools, they teach you how to clear and prepare, but not how to control. More traditional schools. And so you clear everything, you get so ready, and then suddenly what happens is you actually then activate a spontaneous activation, which again, talk about high risk. If you're interested in not looking at all the negative aspects of this, if you're interested in doing this safely, go to theawakenenergy.com. Well, also hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, go check out more videos on the channel. Leave some comments about what you think of what's going on in these other places, what you see, what you've experienced. And then when you're ready, if you want to go through this and in the safest possible way, in a very powerful way, that has a very, very high rate of success. Now, not everybody gets to the highest stages. A lot of people find they actually don't want to go as far as they think they do. Other people, they're just not ready for it, or within the time, they don't put in enough effort to go the full length. This happens. But if you put in the effort, if you put in the work, if you do the preparation exercises, we can go really far. Now, as far as the point is when you get into the connection with Shiva, there comes a point that no one can explain it to you. It just takes patience. It's much like learning a foreign language. You can say, oh, but people can teach you to learn a foreign language. Okay, but let's say you're learning a language as a newborn baby. You have no language. No one can teach you the rules of the language. You just, over time, start to hear sounds. These sounds become rhythms and patterns. These patterns become things you can start to put together in your sort of consciousness, form patterns. They become words. This has a meaning. This has a meaning. This is how it works there. So it's much like if you were going to learn a foreign language without anyone teaching you, you just go to the country and sort of learn it naturally. You will pick it up over time. That, because the way we interpret things, it is, whilst the main things are the same for everybody, the way we interpret these things can change slightly. So I'll give you an example of this. And I'm not necessarily talking about Kundalini awakening. I'm talking about religious experience or general spiritual experiences. So people will have the spiritual experience and they will interpret it as they're Christian, and so they see Jesus. They are spiritual people, and so they see this group of people, and so they call it the awakened masters. Others are into different types of spiritual practice, and so they will call it their ancestors. Others are spiritual, but at the same time conspiracy theorists, and so they will call this group of people Palladians or Arcturians. People translate what they've seen into different things. At the end of the day, what they're seeing is the same. Perhaps it's one or a group of people, but then they identify those things with their beliefs, so it fits in nicely. So to put that into one standard language with people with all these different beliefs everywhere, we just have to let it filter until we work it out. Say, oh, okay, yeah, okay, this starts to make sense. This flows. I can see. Yeah. But to get to that stage, that's the process. Theawakenenergy.com if you're interested in going through the process. So check out other videos. If not, I'll see you